One of the greatest joys in my life is music. Since a very young age, I've had noticeable musical talent. In fact, when I was 4 or 5 years old, I started having concerts in my living room. My dad would hold the video camera, and my mom would be at the piano, and I would just stand there and belt Christmas songs at the top of my little lungs. It was a sight to see, believe me. In elementary school, I learned how to play the piano, the violin, and the flute, and I've continued playing these instruments throughout my college experience. But my true passion has always been singing. Music just has a way of communicating ideas that is unparalleled. Singing in choir has been the thing that is consistently able to make me forget about the woes of the day, including having to go to class and work and meetings and just getting really tired. Music has been the best part of my college experience. So here's the thing. You would think that if I loved music so much, I would be majoring in something like vocal performance, or maybe music education or music therapy. But I'm a double major in engineering, science, and mathematics. When I graduate in May, I'll be joining the ranks at an industrial company as a manufacturing engineer. Don't get me wrong, I love music. But I also love operations research. I love designing tools and factory layouts and figuring out which orientation of machines and parts in a workstation will be the best one. I love that engineers can make the world a better place by using our knowledge of math and physics to make things and processes better. So, if I love both engineering and music, which one of these things should I pick to do for the rest of my life? Isn't that what college is for? Coming and gaining a whole bunch of knowledge and getting really good at one thing so you can do it for the rest of your life? For some people, yeah, maybe. For me, that question really stressed me out. And I'm sure a lot of people my age and people in later stages of their career can relate to that. You see, as we grow up, attend school, participate in clubs and activities, and gain new knowledge and experiences, we're expected to draw on these experiences to determine what it is we want to continue doing in our adult lives. I'm here to argue today that that might be a harmful concept. I'm here to assert the idea that you never really arrive to knowing exactly what it is you want to be when you grow up. There's not one magical point where you just get it figured out and a heavenly choir sings as you rid yourself of all anxieties and go off to do the thing you were meant to do. It just doesn't work that way. Vocation, like our lives, personalities, likes and dislikes, is dynamic. That is, what we feel called to do will change as our lives go on. What we feel best suits the needs of the world as well as our passions can vary from decade to decade, year to year, or even month to month. Acknowledging that there is not necessarily one concrete thing that we're expected to do for the rest of our lives helps us to nurture the natural spirit of exploration and passion that we have in our life's work. Merriam-Webster defines the term vocation as a summons or a strong inclination to a particular state or course of action. The dictionary also defines the term as the work in which a person is employed or the special function of an individual or group. Personally, I like the first definition the best. The one that I take the most issue with, however, is the second. Of course, the work in which a person is employed should be the result of a summons or a strong inclination to go into that line of work. Otherwise, you'd probably hate your job. But that statement doesn't necessarily go both ways. Just because you feel passionately about something does not mean that you need to pursue it as your means of income. If your career is bumming you out, you can leave, and that's totally fine. There are plenty of ways to pursue your calling, and career is just one of those ways. I think that a significant part of my own calling is to continue performing. I have friends, professors, mentors, and professional musicians who have told me that I could make it as a professional opera singer. I've wrestled with the idea a lot, and ultimately decided not to pursue a major in vocal performance because although I think I would love it and would probably find success, I think I would feel like something was missing in my life if I didn't get to do all of the fun things that I get to do as an engineer. The tendency our society has to make vocation synonymous with career made me feel like I needed to pick between the two. And that caused me a lot of stress throughout the first couple of years of college. There is actually research out there that implies that it might be harmful to think of vocation as exclusively synonymous with career. Research done for the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology found that when money is used as an external motivator for a task, subjects eventually lost interest in that task. Money helps us be motivated for a while, but really only in the short term. The study also found that the motivation that's provided by money could actually reduce a person's long-term willingness to stay with the work they're doing. The way that I like to think about vocation is presented by American writer and theologian Frederick Buechner. According to his way of thinking, vocation is where your deep gladness meets the world's deep need. I think that this is a beautiful way of understanding what you may be called to do in life, or what your purpose is, and a great indicator of its flexible nature. The world's needs are constantly changing, and it can be argued that the things that bring us joy will change as our lives go on as well. When we examine the concept of calling or vocation as a society, it is noticeable that a lot of the focus around this concept has been placed on getting high school students to go to college, or getting college students to pick a major already if they haven't done so by the time they've gotten to college. As someone who's just finishing up undergrad, I can identify with this pretty well. I was a successful student in high school, and by the time my junior year rolled around, people started asking me where I was going to college, what my major was going to be, and what I was going to do after college. That was 5 years ago. And I'm just now finalizing the last bits of that right now, a month away from graduation. You see, our mentors want us to be successful so badly that they tried to set us up in an environment where it's impossible to fail. We have so many tools and resources at our disposal to help figure out what to do next, like interest inventories, personality tests, programs that examine what our strengths are, and the list goes on and on. And those can be really, really helpful, but for a lot of us, they just ended up putting a crazy amount of pressure on us to get to that calling nirvana, knowing what you want to be when you grow up, super early. And wanting to reach this point so early is kind of squashing the natural spirit of exploration that we may want to have throughout our college years, as well as maybe even the years after we've attained some sort of degree. Exploration should not be seen as a bad thing. Humans love exploration. We love seeking out new things and ideas that challenge the way that we currently see the world. Just because you got a degree in something doesn't mean that that's your vocation and that's what you are assigned to do. If your career is bumming you out, it's certainly not the place where your deep gladness meets the world's deep need. These harmful cliches that we have subscribed to as a society about vocation have been putting an exorbitant amount of stress and anxiety on our young people, as well as pretty much everyone. They've made us sort of feel like vocation is some big mysterious thing that we have to go find, rather than something that comes from within ourselves. I propose we start thinking about vocation differently. I like to think of vocation in a more general sense. I feel called to serve the world and my communities in whatever ways that I effectively can at the present moment. I feel like this is everyone's call, to serve our communities in the ways that we most effectively can. And this calling can be dynamic. If you get really, really good at something and love doing it for a while, and then it starts to bum you out, you can find something else to do that's allowed. Some people will find something that they just love and are content doing for their whole lives. And that's awesome also. But what I'm trying to say here is, vocation is something that can be dynamic. Too often, I feel like we as a society view the concept of vocation more in a sense of what we do rather than who we are. And I think this is tragic. We're often told to follow our dreams, but vocation is about so much more than that. Vocation is a call from within ourselves to serve our communities in the best way that we can at that moment. I need a source of income to sustain myself. So I've chosen a career in engineering to do that. And I feel fulfilled in my work as an engineer, not because I think I was somehow destined to be one, or that it was fate, or that I'm meant to be in this position because it's what I'm supposed to do. I feel fulfilled because if I can make a design change that makes someone not go home as tired as they normally do every day, I've made an improvement in that person's life. And that's enough for me, at least for now. I'm often asked if I'll continue music in my life as an engineer. My answer is always, of course I will. Just because music's not my 9 to 5 doesn't mean that I won't make time for it outside of work. Like I've said previously, it's one of the greatest joys in my life. Why wouldn't I make time for it? Music has just such a great way of expressing ideas with the world, and I believe that it is my responsibility to help do that. So don't follow your dreams. Live them out by being who you are and living out your vocation. If you ever feel like you're on the wrong path, or if you've somehow just gotten into a hole and you're far away from doing what you think you're supposed to do, don't sweat it. What you're called to do can change with your likes and dislikes and the needs of the world. What you're always called to do is serving your community and the world as a whole. And as long as what you're doing is fulfilling you, you're not doing it wrong.